And you are live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This convenes a meeting of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. The commission does have a quorum of its members present, so we will proceed immediately into our business. We've got a very large and challenging agenda before us this evening. I would like to just do one item of business, and that is to approve the minutes from the commission's May meeting. That was our last meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes shall stand approved by common consent. It has been the practice of the commission that when we have a guest or guests as speakers at our meeting, that we flip the agenda to allow our guests to present first. Here this evening is Argo Duenas. Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Correct.
That's correct. Right. Okay. I always ask.
That's fine.
I'll report a little later. I had a meeting and I was pronouncing someone's name wrong, and then I asked them whether I was pronouncing it right, and they gave me the right pronunciation. It is possible that we'll be hearing also from Cynthia Carter as well, but I don't have an update with respect to that. But I think we can go ahead and hear from Argo. Argo and Cynthia were recently named the co-chairs of what has been called the Reparations Committee. This project got underway as a result of an initiative by the Caucus of African American Leaders in Anne Arundel County. There have been at least 2 Zoom calls on this subject.
I want you to get on this side because I don't want you to trip. Look at it. Can you go in first and then what? Don't trip on that, please. I'm worried about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
you doing?
Look at it.
Good evening. Okay, all right. Good evening, Ida Mae. Nice to see you this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, but I was introducing Argo, who is, again, as I say, she's co-chair along with Cynthia Carter of the Reparations.
Hey, Cynthia.
Okay. All right. Are we finished with the introductions here? I'd like to complete Argo's here. Argo's actually going to speak to us about the reparations issue. This is a subject which is gaining steam nationally. One of the major reasons for that was the work of a former alderwoman, Robin Rue Simmons, who actually made reparations happen in her hometown of Evanston, Illinois. And this is a topic right now that's extraordinarily relevant. As I mentioned earlier, there have been 2 Zoom meetings on this. One of them featured Miss Simmons. So, the question then comes is, what does the commission's role be in all of this? But I'd like to call on Argo to give us a presentation on the issue of reparations. What's it all about? What's it involved? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
First of all, I want to thank everybody and thank the commission, the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, for inviting me to share a brief history first of the Old Fourth Ward, some fond memories, and how Annapolis in the late 1960s and early 70s, following a Maryland legislative mandate, established and enforced an Annapolis Urban Renewal Authority Board to identify blighted or slum areas to displace and relocate homeowners. The board identified the Old Fourth Ward and totally destroyed a very thriving, self-sustaining community. It totally collapsed the economic base and wiped away generational wealth. My name is Argo Duenas. I'm a native Annapolitan, a living descendant of the Old Fourth Ward, a member of CAL and the NAACP. I'm deeply rooted and invested in my community. As a business owner and holistic practitioner, I have served the Annapolis DMV and Eastern Shore area for over 35 years. I produced and hosted on Annapolis Public Access Channel, a local TV show called Your Health is Your Wealth for over 20 years. I have been a licensed real estate agent for the state of Maryland since the 1980s, beginning with Steffi Realty in Annapolis and now Keller Williams. As a U.S. Army veteran, I served my country in the 1970s. I've worked as a state employee in the courthouse on Church Circle and a federal employee at the United States Naval Hospital. Annapolis truly is my home and my heart. I still live and work here. Today, I'm asking the commission to support this historic reparation movement and legislation to repair, restore, and repay the harm and trauma that was inflicted on the homeowners, residents, and businesses of the Old Fourth Ward. Here is a brief history of the Old Fourth Ward. The Old Fourth Ward was the core of our African-American community as early as the 19th century. The community grew up around Asbury Methodist Church, St. Philip's Episcopal Church, St. Augustine Catholic Church, fraternal organizations, and the Stanton School. My family were members of Asbury Church, and I attended Adams Park Elementary School and the Stanton Center. Our community was blessed to have the churches as our lighthouse, guiding our families with spiritual principles during the Jim Crow and segregation era. Despite the harsh realities of discrimination that lay outside of our community, we thrived as a people of color. The Old Fourth Ward was not only our sacred vortex and safe haven, but a happy place of peace, love, and unity in the community. The Old Fourth Ward was formed in 1920 and encompassed land from St. John's College to Church Circle and west of South Street. As a political entity, the Old Fourth Ward continued to expand to West Street and towards Parole. Eventually, it was incorporated into Ward 2 around 1951. And in 1969 and 1970, 33 homes and many businesses were relocated or lost to an expanding local and state government footprint during urban renewal, which many of us call today urban removal. Please allow me to share a few minutes of your time about my family and early life in our beloved community. I lived in a multi-generational household with a great-grandmother, grandparents, grandchildren, and uncles. My grandparents owned a two-story home with 3 bedrooms, bath, dining room, kitchen, and a fenced-in yard with beautiful flowers. My great-grandmother, grandfather, and grandmother worked at the Naval Academy. My grandfather walked to work every day and packed lunch. He eventually retired from the academy, and my great-grandmother and grandmother came out on occupational disabilities. Our home was located on West Washington Street, where the Whitmore Garage was built. They paid off their mortgage, like many of the homeowners whose homes were confiscated by eminent domain. Our early childhood life was great. For many of us who experienced a bustling, busy, thriving community where our neighbors were our extended family, we felt safe, loved, and cared for. This community of working class people, and my family especially, instilled in us strong work ethics, family values, education, community service, and a deep reverence for God and spiritual principles. We had many small Black businesses, restaurants, hotels, real estate brokerage, liquor stores, barbershops, hair salons, funeral homes, primary care doctors, delis, and all services needed to sustain a community. These Black businesses modeled for us a pathway and a blueprint to our financial future and freedom. Many of the owners became mentors and coaches, inspiring us to pursue our education, aspirations, and passions, honing in and developing our talents and skills. One of my fondest memories of living on West Washington Street was listening to some of the local jazz and blues artists from my bedroom window nightly. In fact, my father was a great saxophone player in Annapolis. I truly developed a deep appreciation for music from the Old Fourth Ward, for music was always in the air. The Old Fourth Ward, I'm told, was called Little Harlem because many of the all-time great jazz and blues artists who traveled to Annapolis to play at the nightclubs and hotels, which were located on the streets where I lived, West Washington Street, it was like heaven. It was like a paradise. The music was always in the air. And it was just a wonderful community of people supporting one another, loving one another, and being there for each other. Like I said, our neighbors were our extended family. Even the renowned and incomparable Pearl Bailey was one of the great artists. If many of you remember that.
Yeah.
I started by saying life was great living in the Old Fourth Ward, despite the harsh realities of segregation, housing discrimination, and the destruction and the dissemination of a thriving, self-sustaining community, wiping out generational wealth to the living descendants and future generations of the Old Fourth Ward. However, today, the spirit of the Old Fourth Ward lives on in the hearts and minds of the community, and especially the living descendants whose lives were forever impacted by urban renewal. Because of the Old Fourth Ward, I am. My time is up and I thank you for yours.
Thank you very, very much for that presentation, Argo. I would just like to mention that right now we have 10 of the 11 members of the commission present at our meeting tonight. So I would like to thank commissioners for joining us for this very, very important meeting. Also joining us is former Alderwoman Cynthia Carter. And I'd like to call on you, Cynthia, to give your perspective as to the reparations issue and why you think it deserves attention at this time.
Yes, thank you so very much, and thank you for inviting us. I'm going to make this quick and short. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I'm using earphones to block out some other noise I have behind me. But anyway, yeah, we have been with the leadership of Argo to do a lot of researching and to put us in touch with Robin Simmons in Evanston, Illinois. And she alone have been contacting Robin, and they have collected information for resources and how to start and begin a reparation committee here. Well, right now we have formed a core group, and our core group consists of only five of us to establish a subcommittee to carry on this duty. There are a lot of resources out there that have been supplied and given us by Robin, who have an awesome piece of material out now that's it's called First Repair. That's going to help guide and lead us into what we need. But we're asking from the Human Relations Committee if they would partner with us in making a request from the city to start and I guess adopt a legislation that will help us carry this task forward. We do have one person who is on the council who's been helping us along, and he can't do it alone. So he's working on the other alderwomen and aldermen to also get the support. Now, mostly what we really need is maybe a piece of, I guess, let's see, it's not legislation, but asking you to write something to the city to show support in us helping to develop the reparation and this legislation and the committees that we need to carry this duty out. But that's where we are right now. We're right at the bottom of everything, just starting. So with the 5 committees that we'll be meeting with in another week and a half, along with some of the other members who are going to join us, we'd like to have Human Relations Committee of the City of Annapolis to also partner with us. And also our first meeting will be, I think it's the 18th, am I correct with that, Argo?
Yes.
Month. And we're going to do a Zoom meeting. So anybody who's interested or any members that you have from the Human Relations Committee that would like to indulge and represent the Human Relations on our committee. So we'll give you time, location, and everything that's needed to get started with that. And I'm turning it over to you, Mike.
Okay, this is really, really helpful. And I would ask you that you keep on the screen the asks page, because I am going to refer directly to it. I think that really gives us an idea of what you would like the Human Relations Commission to do. And I think that's extremely, extremely helpful.
Yes.
What I'd like to do is to get the thoughts from members of the commission who are present this evening. As I said, 10 of the 11 commissioners are here. And to get their reaction to the specific asks that are being made of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. Again, looking at the screen, working with the Reparations Committee on a resolution. In this case, it would be to mainly to the city, since we're a city board, with a main focus on housing and urban renewal. And then secondly, to get volunteers to support the Reparations Committee work in tandem with the Human Relations Commission. And then to organize city town halls or educational sessions when asked and needed. So I'd like to get the commission members' reaction to this. I think that once we've seen that, we can move to making a decision on this. So commissioners, I see what I would ask folks to do is to use the raise hand function in Zoom. And I'll call on you, and I see a hand raised from Chuck Hurley.
I would gladly speak, although Linda Mundy also has been working on this as well, and would defer to her first, or how would you like to proceed, Linda? Not sure. Can you, Linda, do you hear me, or?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
I think
would.
it was just,
would-
these are questions for the whole committee, so I don't have any questions at this time. And
Okay.
Argo and Cynthia said everything that I needed to hear.
Okay, all right. We're looking for now is also just questions. If people have reactions and questions.
I would like to add, first off, I really thank both Argo Duenas and Cynthia Carter for their presentation, which a lot of which I knew about, but I gained more knowledge. Reparations is kind of a scary word to people, but it really means it's part of restorative justice, where harm has been done, and you just have an honest conversation about what is how to do right about it. And as many of you know, was raised right as a Quaker and all that, and thought, but I did not know a lot of history that happened. History that was unpleasant tended to be just pushed aside. And I kind of knew about redlining, thought it was really unethical real estate people and bankers. No, actually, it was our federal government. The book Color of Law, that many of you, I think, may have heard of or read, was a book that really made me angry that I didn't know about this. It's a book by Richard Rothstein. Many of you know it's available at the library. It's about 300 pages, and I think 150 pages are footnotes. It's not just opinion. I mean, it actually happened beginning really in the 30s, where the concept of redlining was developed by the Federal Housing Administration and enforced by the federal government, where a lot of returning GIs after World War II and the major developments like Levittown's, to get bulk financing, they would have to promise to adhere to redlining. In Levittown, Mr. Levitt, who happened to be Jewish, couldn't sell to Jews, couldn't sell to blacks, couldn't sell to Medal of Honor winners who happened to be black coming back from World War II. And I read that, and I came of age in the 60s when the federal government was starting to do the right things about this, but it just made me angry to learn about it in that kind of detail. And I very much support the recommendations of Argo Duenas and Cynthia Carter. I believe, as Linda Mundy obviously said, I'd welcome her comments as well. Two things I would just briefly want to say. The County Human Relations Commission adopted, I think, a very positive policy, and I'm not sure I have the date on it, but it was just at the last meeting, I guess. And let me just read it to you briefly. Greetings. It was a resolution that they adopted, I think unanimously. Eugene Peterson as the chair. Apologies for slavery's existence in the county and a reparations legislation. Greetings, County Executive Pittman and Chairman Smith. Request for the County Executive and County Council to issue an apology for slavery's existence in the county and develop reparations legislation. As we all aware, slavery existed in America from 1619 to 1865. Maryland was a slave state. Actually, it was the second leading slave state, which came as a surprise to me, with tobacco obviously as a principal part of it. Let me go back to the quote. And participated in slavery and slave trade in the city of Annapolis, obviously, and it refers to the monument to Alex Haley and his ancestors, Kunta Kinte, et cetera, who entered slavery through the port of Annapolis. It is time to recognize the ongoing impact of slavery on county residents and take action to address the harm that slavery did. The Anne Arundel Human Relations Commission respectfully requests that the county executive and county council issue an apology for the negative impact on slavery had on those enslaved and their descendants. Furthermore, the commission requests that the county executive and county council work together to develop reparations legislation that would address the impacts of slavery on the descendants of slaves who are county residents. The commission realizes that the county executive and county council may wish to create a task force to develop recommendations on what would constitute meaningful legislation. The commission would welcome being part of that kind of effort. Sincerely, Eugene Peterson, Chair, Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. That I think is a fine statement that we probably would want to tweak it to add the specific references to the Fourth Ward and the presentation by Argo Duenas, but that certainly makes sense to me. Another statement, I'll try to shut up after this, but another statement that really put it all in a nutshell to me was from a study by the Rand Corporation on what it would take to eliminate the wealth gap caused by most wealth is from housing, and if you segregate housing and do not allow Blacks to buy in prosperous areas where their money would grow, that really, and I've seen this many times. I don't know the exact source, but the average Black family wealth in America is 10% of the wealth of white families. And almost all of that, I say almost all of that, I believe the vast majority of that is housing and actions such as Argo Duenas shared with us. But the statement I'll be quiet. The statement that really put it in a nutshell, it was from that Rand Corporation, and I'm pulling it up here to read. I'm having trouble here, but I believe I finally have it. I'm sorry for the delay. Here it is. Yesterday's segregation is today's wealth gap. We like to pretend that we live in a race-neutral, merit-based society now, that this is all in the past. But you can't erase history. It shows up in our wealth. And that, to me, put it in a nutshell. I've had participated in the caucus, and I've had the benefit of hearing Alderwoman Simmons tell her remarkable story. And I think that we should accept the recommendations of Argo Duenas and Cynthia Carter to work with them. In one other, I keep going on and on, but one other major factor in the success of Alderwoman Simmons was tying it to the new cannabis taxes. And in the state law that Maryland adopted, it does make clear that jurisdictions that sell cannabis can decide what to do with the proceeds of the tax. I believe that's mainly at the county level, but the lawyers would have to work that out. But I think that since it's not really taking money away from anybody, it's a sort of from a new tax that hasn't been distributed yet. I would like to see some good made out of that taxation. Anyway, I'm sorry for going on and on, but
Okay, Chuck, I'd like to see if there are other commissioners who would like to speak on this.
Yeah, I would like to know what people are thinking of what kind of reparations now. I'm from California and did not visibly see the effects of segregation. Okay, where I lived, it was a town, it was a country town, and it was we had Mexicans, okay? And the Mexicans had houses and they worked and did all those things, and there was no feeling. So I'm wondering, when you're talking reparations, what are you thinking of that could happen that would make people feel whole again?
If I might pipe in on this, I'm also an original from the 4th Ward. I have a little bit more age than most of them that are serving on the committee and can ask to reference some times and places, things and people. The reparation will not change anything, especially the history of this old the segregation and the unfair treatment that we received and just mere existence. The redlining was the cap on this bottle that kept us in place, and it limited a lot that we could and should have been able to do, from the housing to jobs, from schooling to even the police services that we received. The things are going to change because it's going to take money to do it, and it's going to take the help of organizations like yours and others. There are many that are going to be joining us, as they have done in some of the other states. But we got to have, because we're going to have to do this thing together. We can't do it separately. And we have cried, we have screamed, we have gone before legislation. We have done legislation which they are ignoring. They even had affordable housing that was put in place here in the city of Annapolis that's not enforced properly. I was there when they made it. And we tried to do some things where it would be fair across the board. Nothing's done fair. This is a good old boy town, and they have done that and used everything they could to keep their foot on us. And it's time that we rise. Since 1971 until 2022, reparation was given to about 6 to 8 different nationalities, and I think mostly nationalities: the Japanese, the indigenous, the Koreans, just many, many other areas. They have gotten it, and many millions and billions of dollars of African Americans have not gotten 1 cent.
Sure.
So this is what we're going for. We're going to have some kickback on it. We expect that. It's always been a fight for us, and the struggle continues. You got it.
Okay. Helen, I see your hand is up. Do you have something you'd like to say?
Lakeisha was before me.
Okay, all right. I see Lakeisha. Go ahead, Lakeisha.
Can you all hear me well? I'm talking from my car. Thumbs up for hearing. You can hear me well?
Yeah, yes, I can.
No?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So I kind of wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit off of Ms. Carter's statement about reparations and being received throughout to other nationalities or ethnicities. Even slave owners receive reparations in some parts of the South. Being that, you know, when the law came into effect that they were no longer able to have slaves free and do free labor, they were given some stipend or some type of cash as a sense to help them with this transition, this change that they were expecting. And the slaves were giving nothing. They weren't given land, they weren't given property, they would just give it, you know, they had to make it out for themselves. So in the fact of thinking about what can we do, I know that one of the things the Anne Arundel Human Relations Commission is thinking about is like, how do you then decipher, you know, natives of Maryland who would then receive reparation? My other side of that is, if we can look back to see who are native and who may have had slave, you know, lineage and slave owners, being slaves, ancestries in their bloodline, right? Alive or passed away, and maybe generations, maybe we can also look at the surnames or the people that used to be slave owners. And if they have a certain stance of wealth or a certain stance of property, those people should actually be possibly looked at as contributing to the reparations. I know Chuck mentioned something about the cannabis taxes, but you know, these are people that starting up their own business as well, and to tax them for something that they may not have had any contributions seems a little unfair. So for those who may have had generations prior to who were slave owners, we should start looking at those family names and what have they accumulated. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakeisha. I'm going to go back to Helen because I did see her hand up before.
Just briefly, I'm not going to go into all of that. I just think it's a no-brainer that this commission should be involved with this committee. It's something we should be doing. And there's no doubt about it. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Helen.
Mhm.
Other comments or questions from members of the commission? Okay, yes, yeah, Diane?
I still don't have in my mind a picture of what can be done now to make up for how things are. Can someone help me with that?
Yeah. Mike, can I add what happened in Evanston, Illinois, or perhaps Argo can?
Yeah, I think
That it's a
Argo or
relatively
Cynthia
modest
answer,
housing
Chuck.
trust fund.
I think it'd be good for Argo or Cynthia to answer this.
Yeah, good.
And I'll let Argo, she can really give you some info. We don't have any answers to any of those questions right now. This is
Right.
why we're forming the subcommittees. We're gonna do some
That's what the
brainstorming.
committee's for.
Exactly. So we cannot answer that particular question, Diane, but we would appreciate input. Your curiosity is appreciated. And if you could also join us, and even if you're not going to work on the committee, you can join us at meetings that's going to be open to the public and they can understand what's actually taking place. With a lot of research and resources out there, and the committees it will be their duties to bring those answers to the table. So now that we can put the legislation together and have it passed.
Right.
Okay, Joshua, I see your hand is up.
Good evening, everyone. I think this is really common sense. When people are injured, when a person is injured, singularly or as a group, it is the responsibility of the injuring party to restore that person and make them whole. How that's going to be done, I mean, that's worked out in the process. But right now, the question really of the commission is whether or not it should support such an initiative. And I think the answer is very clear.
Yeah.
I mean, we should. And so I'm in favor of supporting all of the recommendations that were presented tonight. So I just want to make that real clear, Mike.
Me too.
Okay, all right. Argo?
Yeah, I just want to sort of piggyback off of what Letitia said. Our resolution and our focus predominantly is about the harm that was done to the Old Fourth Ward. It was eminent domain that they used. They used urban renewal and eminent domain to totally displace and dislocate a very thriving community. The Fourth Ward was not a slum.
Nope.
It was never a slum. It was never blighted. They illegally, I can ask you to even check in with Carl Snowden, because Carl actually tried to right the wrong when this happened, but he did not have the political will or the support. So, timing is everything. So now truly is the time for reparations. It's a global movement. There are 11 cities throughout the United States and even the UN. They're all working on it because there is a shift in the human consciousness about reparations. So our focus is the Old Fourth Ward. It's not based on lineage or slavery at this point. So I'm really excited about the commission giving us an opportunity to come before you and sort of plead our case and ask for your help, because we all need to work together and in alignment with making this a reality for the living descendants. The harm that was done, many of the homeowners couldn't afford to buy another home. They became renters. Or tenants. My grandparents own their own home like many others, but when they took their homes, when the government confiscated their homes, they gave them pennies on a dollar. And then many of the homeowners had siblings and other people who were co-owners, and they had to split the money up. So, it wasn't a good situation. So I'm hoping that the commission would make those recommendations and join us in this historic movement to make Annapolis the second city in the US to pass reparation legislation.
Okay, either Cynthia or Argo, could you put up on the screen again that slide which said which underscored the ask that you were you're asking the commission to make? Could you put that up again?
Yes.
Okay, all right. The way I interpret it would be the following. In terms of the first, the Reparations Committee is seeking a resolution that would essentially endorse their efforts through the Reparations Committee. And that resolution, since this is the City Human Relations Commission, this would be addressed to the mayor and to all of the members of the City Council. Second, that there would be members of the commission who would want to work on the Reparations Committee, or to provide the Reparations Committee with specific types of assistance based on the skills that they have. And the third, that when asked, the Human Relations Commission would assist in the organizing of town halls or educational sessions. Does that adequately summarize what the asks are, Argo and
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'm hearing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call the roll of commissioners to whether the commission would, whether they feel the commission should support this effort in the specific ways that were contained in the ask statement. And so I'm just going to call on folks. If you favor doing this, you can vote aye. If you don't support, vote no. If you're not sure, you can abstain. And so I'm going to just call the roll. Helen?
Aye.
Okay. Edith?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
Rosemary? Rosemary?
She must be muted.
Muted.
She's muted.
You're muted, Rosemary.
You give thumbs up or, yeah.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
all right,
go.
that's it. All right, that's all we needed. Item A.
Aye.
Okay, let's see, Joshua.
Aye.
Okay, and Jay,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. And so I'll let the minutes will reflect. I think I called all commissioners
Linda,
on.
I vote yes as
Yeah.
well.
Did I leave someone out?
Yeah,
Linda.
I
Oh, I'm
vote
sorry,
yes.
Linda. Okay,
Aye,
Linda, I'm sorry.
aye.
Linda votes aye. Okay, let the minutes will reflect that the Annapolis Human Relations Commission has unanimously passed this resolution to support the work of the Reparations Committee, and we're going to go forward and do just that. Look forward to working with Cynthia and Argo and their entire team to get this project underway.
Absolutely. It's well appreciated. And I would also like to ask anyone that has chosen or will be chosen to join us at the commission, the first full commission meeting that will be, and it will be virtual, Zoom on the 18th. Just send in your email to Linda, Argo, or myself, and we will have that, send you the information so that you can get the link.
Okay, well, my thanks to you, Argo, and Cynthia for making the
Cynthia, do you
presentation.
remember me?
I might mention that if you're interested, you're certainly invited to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting this evening. That's up to you. This is a public meeting, and your continued presence would be most welcome. I want to make that very, very, very evident. At the same time, we understand, if you've got other commitments and things, you understand that as well. What we're going to do now is to bounce back to the top of the agenda to get to begin with to get the staff liaison report.
Sounds like she's gonna bid on.
Claudia, can I call on you if you have a report?
Good
And
evening,
in your
everyone.
capacity as staff liaison? Claudia Barber is staff liaison to the commission.
Good evening, everyone. I do not have a report at this time. I believe where we left off at the last commission meeting, we had awarded the Annapolis Youth Awards to St. Mary's High School and Annapolis High School. And I remember hand delivering the check and the plaque to the recipient at the Annapolis High School. And I believe Chair Mike Keller delivered it to St. Mary's High School. And so since then, there has not been any new filings of complaints that have come through. So at this point, that would conclude my staff liaison report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judge Barber. In terms of my report, I would mention that I had a Zoom meeting with Asha Smith, who is the recently named Director of Equity and Human Rights for the County Executive's Office, and also be working with the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County. And when I got the notice asking me to participate in a Zoom conference, I signed up for it, having really no knowledge what it was going to be about. And I anticipated it would be that Ms. Smith was mainly interested in educating folks about her responsibilities. I was completely wrong. It was only her and me. And what she wanted was she wanted to learn about the Human Relations Commission of the city of Annapolis. So I spent probably 45 minutes or so going over the responsibilities of the commission, as well as its outreach work. And she was most responsive to us and is very excited about working with us, even though she will be formally employed with the county. And I was very much impressed with the fact that she has been hired by County Executive Pittman to take on this role. I would also like to express thanks to Mark Hildebrand for assisting us with the technical aspects of tonight's meeting. And also, I'd like to call on Linda and then Rosemary to say a few words about an initiative that they are spearheading to hold a informal social among commissioners. One of the things that we have done is we've had all of these Hollywood Square type of Zoom meetings. We haven't had a chance to sit down and break bread together or to discuss things with each other. So Linda and Rosemary have been working on this, and I'd like to call on first Linda and then give Rosemary a chance to chat as well. Linda, could you?
Hi,
comment?
everybody. Yeah, I had reached out to Mike, just asking if maybe we were going to start meeting in person again, because I, for one, as a new member, do feel a bit disconnected, being that I came in as a member on Zoom and, have not really gotten to know any of you. I'm a community organizer, so I also know that I should probably reach out and try to have coffee with each one of you, and I've got to start working that in my schedule. But he suggested I check in with Rosemary and see if we could order or organize a dinner together, because I guess Rosemary had done that before, and Rosemary had some good ideas. So I'll turn it over to Rosemary now.
Okay, Rosemary, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great. So a couple of years ago, I was feeling the way Linda is feeling. And we came up with an idea of all going to dinner together. But it wouldn't be just any place. It would have to be a place where we were supporting a cause, for example. So on January 18th, and I'm not sure if it was in 2018 or 2019, we met at the Lighthouse Bistro because we could really relate to what their mission was. So I called, made reservations for all the commissioners who were interested. And I got to tell you, we had a ball. We didn't talk Human Relations Commission stuff. We just got to know each other as people. And it was a great time. Linda and I were throwing around some ideas of when to do this. It was my thought that because we are coming into Hispanic Heritage Month, maybe we could find a restaurant that we all agreed on we would like to meet at, and I'm happy to make the reservations. And again, it doesn't have to be in support of Hispanic Heritage Month, but I'm open to any ideas. And Linda's open to any ideas. I'm not the boss of this.
I like the Lighthouse.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, and on that occasion, we also invited members of the County Human Relations Commission to join us as well. I can't remember how many of them actually came though, but we did extend the invitation.
There was the woman with the blonde hair. She used to come to our meetings from time to time. I have a picture of her, but I just don't remember her name.
Okay. Well, I'd
Just
like to
probably
thank-
the liaison, wasn't she?
Well, I'd like to thank Linda and Rosemary for undertaking this initiative, and we look forward to having a social in the very, very near future.
So is our follow-up on this lighthouse, and then maybe Rosemary and I will send out some dates and everybody can respond?
I think that would be good.
No?
I
Great.
think that would be a good way of going.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Linda. Okay, our next item, we're moving down on the agenda, now going back to the agenda, and we are going to, we've already covered items 6A and 6B. We're now on 6C, which is the election of the commission chair and vice chair for 2023 and 2024. This is required in the city code and in the bylaws of the commission, that the officers have to be formally elected each year. And since we did not have a meeting in June, this has now been held over for this year. I have had a conversation with, again, let me just deal with the chair first of all. I'm willing to continue in this role, but I think I should tell the commission I've been here a long time. And so, and I mean a long time. I think I was 12 or something when I joined the commission.
How long have you been chair, Mike, or
How long have I been chair?
Yeah.
If I,
Forever.
no, I'm going to give you the, I became chair in
Can't remember.
year 2000, and it is currently 2023. So you do the math, we're approaching a quarter of a century. So that I just leave that as, I'm willing to do it, but if there's someone else who's interested, again, I'm not irreplaceable. The other is that Edith has mentioned to me that she would like to step down at this time as vice chair. And Joshua Hatch has expressed interest to me that he would be willing to serve as vice chair. So is that correct, Joshua?
You're putting words in my mouth, Mike, but no, I'm joking. Yes, that's correct. If no one else is interested in the vice chair, I will take on that responsibility as vice chair.
All right. Am I being accurate here, Edith?
Yes.
In terms of our conversation? Okay, Edith is not leaving the commission. She got many years to run on her term, so she will be with us. So the question is, you've got two things you got to vote on. The first of all, you've got to vote on the election of a chair. And the second thing you've got to vote on is the election of a vice chair. So I'm just going to leave it up. Yes, Linda?
So I did read the bylaws to your suggestion when I was asking lots of questions about this process. And I do feel like it would be good for us to take a look at these bylaws at some point soon, because to me, when I look at electing leaders, I think that there should be notice and it should be transparent. So we understand coming into the meeting, we know what it's going to look like. And I understand that you weren't really sure what Edith's situation was and all that, but I do feel like that is important to be transparent. And it does concern me that there's not time limits on serving as chair and vice chair. I think that that's something that we should take a look at as well. Because, we all can get into these comfortable roles and just say, oh, Mike's got that. And I know this because I just got out of a role like that in my church where they were continuing to say, oh, Linda's got that. Because I recognized I wasn't doing the service in that role that I needed to anymore. And that was just my own personal thing going on. But I do think it's really important to challenge ourselves to really step into leadership, to challenge ourselves, to really understand the bigger picture and to set goals, because in the year that I've been serving now, that is something that I hope that we can work on soon, or setting goals for this commission rather than being reactionary. And so I guess I kind of wonder with the both of you, what do you think about setting goals with the commission? What are your goals? I'm not asking for a campaign speech or anything, but these are just all things that I'm thinking about in this and committing to watching our commission be engaged and accountable.
Okay, I would just like to say, I think that Mike has put himself out there to be the chairman. And one of the reasons that we have chosen to have him continue is he's knowledgeable about the workings of the city and how to approach things in a way that they will be accepted. We've never had anything that we wanted to do turned down. And I think part of that is, again, because Mike knows who to talk to and what to say. So I would have no problem with seeing him continue. And if Josh wants to come forth and take the role of the vice chair, then that's an opportunity for sharing ideas right there. So I'm comfortable with the way that we have selected the people leading us.
If I may say, Linda, I hear your concerns and what you're saying. I think that there are some things that are going on within the city of Annapolis that the Human Relations Commission can actually get involved with. There are a lot of opportunities. If I was to serve as the vice chair, and even if I don't serve as the vice chair, I'm still a part of this commission. And there's some things that I brought to Mike's attention, but we all have an opportunity, whether we're chair or vice chair. We all have an opportunity to put things before the commission, opportunities for us to engage the residents in the roles and duties and responsibilities of the commission. And I don't think that just falls on the chair and the vice chair. I think that's reflective of everybody who serves on the commission.
I agree. And the chair listens to any of us when we do have concerns that we want him to address.
I'd like to say something in regards to Mike being the chairperson. And this is more personal in a way. I find Mike to be a good listener. Mike is so polished. There are times where you respond to questions that may be controversial, and you know just how to say it. I'm from Philly, so you can't trust me to be diplomatic, but Mike is the consummate diplomat. He also knows so much about what is going on, what the bills are in front of the legislative committees. I am in awe sometimes of the amount of knowledge Mike has, and I am very comfortable with Mike continuing in the chair position. And as for you, Joshua, I don't know you that well yet, maybe after we get our dinner together, but I can totally see you as vice chair right now. The little bit that I know of you, you bring so much to the table. And you also are very connected to the community in ways that some of us are not. So I am comfortable with you being the vice chair as well. So Thank you for listening.
Can I
I
also
agree.
just say that Joshua has just gotten a major promotion at the Community Action Agency and is vice president, I think now. And because of the great work he's doing on returning citizens.
Joshua is proactive. Yeah, and that's what we need.
So, I'm sorry if it sounded like I was attacking Mike or Joshua. I was not at all. I think the two questions that I'm
Yeah,
raising is, one, I think it would be good going into election that we're transparent. I know the bylaws say that elections are May and June. And I personally think we should have had a June meeting to have that election. And two, it concerns me that we don't have term limits on vice chair and chair. And I do hope that that would be something that we could take a look at some point, because our national democracy, our government tells us that it's a good thing sometimes to have chair limits. So those were kind of my two points there. And I support Joshua and Mike as well, and vice chair and chair, and also thank them for volunteering for those roles because they are volunteers.
Exactly.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I would just say, Linda, I did not take
Yeah.
your comments as a criticism of me. I took it more of a discussion about procedural issues and issues in terms of the organization's ability to reach out to other prospective leaders. So I most certainly did not view what you said in any way as a criticism of me or Joshua for that matter. We do need to have a motion on this that has to be voted on. Does someone have a motion to make with respect to the chair and vice chair?
I move that we elect Mike and Joshua as chair and vice chair of the commission.
Is there a second for the motion?
I second.
Okay.
Diane.
Okay, rather than call the roll, I'm just going to ask whether there's any objection to the candidates who have been nominated. Hearing none, the election of chair and vice chair, myself and Joshua respectively, is approved by common consent. Okay, we're going on to the next item. We've got several items, but I think these will go, well, I'll have to see how they go. There may be more conversation than I think. Some time ago, it's been at least a month or so, Linda shared with me a link to the most recent version of Annapolis Ahead 2040 comprehensive plan for the city. I had in turn shared that link with all members of the commission. Here is where we stand on this issue. The commission has had 2 sessions with representatives from the Department of Planning and Zoning, which is coordinating the comprehensive plan. At those meetings, the commission presented a set of goals and strategies, which the commission adopted, feeling that these were important to be in the comprehensive plan. The initial stages of the planning process is almost completed. It's almost completed. The interviews that they're conducting with various constituencies around the city is coming to an end. After that, there will be a draft document that will be presented to the director of the Office of Planning and Zoning. And that person, who was very recently selected by the mayor and has had a background with the city of Annapolis, he will make recommendations. Those recommendations will go to the standing committees of city councils. All the standing committees of city council will have an opportunity to weigh in on the draft plan and to make changes in it. And then finally, a consolidated document which will reflect the positions taken in the standing committees. A final draft will be put together that will finalize the comprehensive plan. The current plan was adopted back in 2009, about 14 years ago. And if this plan is adopted, it would run until 2040. So about 16 years. It would be my anticipation that a lot of the things that the commission included in its draft will almost certainly be taken up by one or more of the standing committees. So I will be keeping commissioners informed about those meetings when they are held, because I think we did a terrific job in terms of coming up with a set of recommendations for the comprehensive plan. Are there any comments about this by members of the commission? Okay, all right. We can therefore move.
I put my hand up, Mike. I put my hand up, Mike.
Whose
so-
hand was up? Oh, I'm
Linda,
sorry, Linda.
yeah.
I just
No, no
didn't see
worries.
it. Okay,
No
no.
So I just have a concern about how they are handling the review of this comprehensive plan. I do know that we can get copies of it at the Eastport Library. I believe that there were a couple meetings. I know there was one at Pitt Moyer last week where they were presenting to people, but I really am curious. Well, it's not that I'm even curious. I would like to see that they are making a real effort to take this plan, not just to standing committees in our city government, but also communities that are most affected, right? So we were told by Rob Savage that they made a decision to not vote on the housing bill that Dewan and Brooks had put forward because they wanted this comprehensive plan to get done. And so my question now is, and we are really concerned about affordable housing. And so my question now is, okay, how can we really be sure that they have included everything they need to in this plan? And how can we be sure that the residents who are most affected by affordable housing, which are not only people that live in public housing and subsidized housing, but there's also a whole piece that their bill did not even address, and that's the people that are in between that range and then middle class, right? How can we be sure they know about this comprehensive plan and it makes sense to them and that their input has been taken? So I feel like we should be asking them to make a plan to take this into some communities, you know, whether it be the caucus, whether it be, you know, the resident meeting in Woodside Gardens, or whatever that looks like, and to really make a concerted effort to bring it to those communities. Because when you just have a meeting at Pitt Moyer on a Tuesday night, not everybody can go. And you know, that requires a lot to get there. So I really would like us to see, to be pushing back on them a bit, because now when I just looked at the website, I don't even see that they're having any public meetings scheduled anymore.
No, they've pretty much reached the end of it
Yeah.
in terms of public hearings.
There weren't a lot though. And it was all on their territory and at their, do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Well, one thing that I would emphasize this, although it really doesn't address your concern, Linda, specifically, is that when the whole components of the plan are brought before the standing committees of city council, those are open meetings. People can come and testify and offer their views. People can also do that at meetings of the city council itself, although there's more limits placed on that. But that doesn't really address what you're saying. What you're saying is that the people who are putting the plan together need to get out in the communities and let people in the communities hear about it. And I do not know. I know they've been holding a lot of different public hearings, but I don't know if they've actually gone into the communities, but they certainly should have. They certainly should have.
I mean, I know they did it when I remember them doing it for when they were looking for a new police chief and they wanted to focus on community policing when they hired the police chief, and they, went to, had meetings at the fire station and, really tried to get into different communities. So it can be done, and they've done it before.
I think it would be helpful to, and I've got his email too, just to send the person who's been coordinating it, just to simply ask, say that this matter was discussed at the Human Relations Commission, and we're interested in knowing which communities you actually made the held public hearings in, and just find that out. Just ask. I mean, it's not a belligerent question. I can do that easily and just simply ask, for the names of the places where they held the public hearings. And if we find that there has been a great disparity in terms of where these things were held, then that's something that can be brought to the attention of City Council, because they are wrapping the process up. I do know that. They're on a timeline. So, but I think your point's extremely good, extremely well taken. If you want to really reach members of our community, you've got to go where they live. And that should have been done. And it may well have been done. But I'll get an answer to the commission. We'll have that. I'll have that reported to us by our next meeting.
And Linda, did you say that they stopped having meetings, or Mike, did you say they stopped having meetings?
No, I mean, they've been holding public hearings on a regular basis. What we don't know is where they're going.
Okay.
Who they've spoken to. I mean, they spoke with us. I mean, we had 2 coordinators of this plan. This is how long this thing's been going on. Both Sally Nash, who was the director of planning and zoning, and she was handling that. And that they've got another person there now who's let me just see if I have it here in the minutes. Let's see. Yeah, E. Lashinsky was chief of comprehensive planning.
And they just hired a new planning director today.
Excuse me?
He's on board. He's
Wow.
on board. He was onboarded today.
Oh, wow.
Okay, all right. But he was one who was coordinating it. So I'm going to send him an email and just simply say, we're curious as to where the public hearings were held. I mean, I've seen them
I mean,
around.
presenting the strategic plan, because they definitely did some public hearings to gather input for the strategic plan. So now my question is, are they going to then present it back to people and do as much, if not more? And then have we, the commission, reviewed it to make sure that the goals that you all had submitted, the input that you had submitted, is included in this comprehensive plan?
I have not read the draft of the plan, so I can't address that. We have been told both by Sally Nash as well as by Mr. Lashinsky that we would recognize our handiwork in the plan. But I think the only way of determining that is to go to the city website and to actually look at the plan. You can access it there. I have not recently read it. I've seen some of the designs that they've put up at the Pip Moyer Recreation Center, but I find them sort of hard to follow. So we'll find. I'll get an answer from Mr. Lashinsky in terms of exactly where they held public hearings, and find out whether individuals in some of the communities were not, properly interviewed and given an opportunity to respond. As I said, they asked us twice, and we responded twice. And I know that I've been told that we were more proactive since we actually developed a set of goals and strategies. And we actually wrote something up and gave it to them.
Right, that's why
So
I'm saying it would be good to know if they included it, but nobody's read the plan, so that's something
No,
that
that's
we should do, right?
you're motivating me to take a look at
Yeah,
it.
we need to take a look at it and see if our work,
yeah.
if you all did that work, then hopefully it's in there, because if it's not, then we need to ask why, right?
Yeah.
That's why we are here.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to find out, try to get some answers to this, to both of the questions. Question one is, how reflective is the current draft of the plan? And again, it's nowhere near final completion. How much did it reflect our point of view as expressed during the hearings that we attended? And then secondly, where were the public hearings held, and how often? And so I'll get an answer from both on both of those counts. The
And
next
Mike,
item,
there
yeah.
is something on the website, that link that you sent around, that says that there's a meeting tomorrow, as well as a planning commission meeting at maybe in the middle of September. Is there any way to know what those meetings are being held for, if they've already I guess someone finished their rough draft or completed some element of their draft?
Yeah, I did not know that, Jay.
Yeah, it says at least there's an Annapolis Ahead meeting. It just says at Pip Moyer Recreation Center, September 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then a planning commission on September 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. But it does not say where. I don't see, at least on here, where that may be.
That's the planning commission, but yeah, there's one at Pip Moyer tomorrow, you're saying, at what time? I was just
It
looking for
says
that
6
to see if
p.m.
anyone-
6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at
Okay,
Pip Moyer. And it's an in-person.
Yep.
And it's organized by Casey Ortiz.
yep.
Who is Casey Ortiz?
I don't know. That's what it says underneath when you click on that, the link on that web, the link that you provided to us.
Okay, well, there's a lot of questions about the plan. I think we ought to find out, I'm not sure what, if individuals, is that meeting that's going to be at Pip Moyer open to the public, or is it a closed door planning meeting of the planning committee? Does anyone know that?
I
Mr.
found
Chair,
it.
if I could provide a little bit of information.
Sure, Mark.
It is an open meeting to the public. Casey Ortiz works with Eric Lashinsky in the Planning and Zoning Department. Eric is not the new chair or the new manager of the Planning and Zoning Department. He has been there for a number of years.
Right.
So he was not just sworn in.
Well, how would commissioners want me to go on this? Do commissioners have a copy of our recommendations? If not, I can easily send them to you.
Well, you sent it, and then I'm looking at the comprehensive plan right now, and I'm going to tell everybody it's 415 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. So But again, if we make recommendations and we want to see them included, then we need to follow up here to see. And I know you did send those out in the spring,
Yeah.
Mike. But I mean, certainly, and I can send you the link if you like to this, but I think you already sent out the link to the comprehensive.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think what's important here, I'm going to do three things. One, I think the commissioners need to be reminded what exactly we recommended. Our recommendations covered, in fact, I've got it somewhere here. I think I actually have it here. I can find it. Yeah, here we go. And I'll send this out to everyone. Basically, without this really short, we had several goals. One was dealt with public transportation. Second, dealt with supporting and empowering public housing residents and improving public housing properties. A third said to take steps to address the lack of housing affordability in Annapolis. The next goal, it says deal with the symptoms and causes of social divisions and tensions that exist among communities. And then the final goal is to take steps to make Annapolis a hate-free city. And then there are strategies under each one of those, which I won't take time to read, but I'll send that out to members of the commission. So at least you're familiar with what we have recommended to the committee. To the extent to which they have incorporated those, I think that's one question that can be asked. And then the other question, I think very simply, is who in the community did they ask? I mean, where did they hold all these meetings at the Pitt Moyer Center? The center is available by public transportation on Hilltop Lane, but that's not the same as holding it in a residential neighborhood I do know that Mr. Lashinsky went to a number of community associations. I do know that. But whether he went to, say, the residents units or the residents councils at the public housing facilities, that I do not know. But I'll ask and I'll be back and I'll send the commission an email message once I have heard from him and gotten some answer on this. But in the meantime, I would urge the commission members to read the recommendations that we made, the goals and strategy we recommended, and then take a look at the draft of the plan to see if they're integrated in it. I think that would be a very useful enterprise. Again, once that plan's adopted, it's not coming back for 16 years. So it's important to pay attention to it because it will drive city policy. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the proposed addition of age to protected categories in the city's fair housing ordinance and other areas of the city code. Where did this come from? Teresa Wellman of the Department of Planning and Zoning sent me an email message saying that, or asking whether the commission would be supportive of an effort to add age as one of the protected categories in the fair housing ordinance. It is currently not there. Age is not covered. As Carrie Berger reported in an email, I think to me and to others, there are some mentions of age in other parts of the city code, but it's not consistent. And what was recommended to me by Teresa Wellman was, do you really want to have age as part of the fair housing ordinance? And do you think it ought to be put throughout the city code? And that's the question I'm bringing to the commission at this point. Is this something that we want to ask her to look into? I pretty much told her that in order for this to be done, it would require legislation. City council would have to vote on it. I personally wouldn't have any objection to adding age as a protected category in the fair housing ordinance. The commission is seen as the entity within city government that enforces the Fair Housing Act. So our views on that, as far as the fair housing ordinance, would probably be very seriously considered by the council. And then with respect to other parts of the code, I think that Ms. Wellman would have to have a conversation with the Office of Law on that, because they would have to identify where it's mentioned, where it's not mentioned. I bring this to you tonight because I'd like to get a sense from because it's not something we have to vote on, but I'd like to get a sense of, is this something that the commission would support, looking into this?
I would support it. I don't understand why it wouldn't be there to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
That
I
seems
know, I looked at all of the documents I have, and I looked at the city code, it's not there. At
I
least-
support adding age, being of a certain age.
Okay. I mean, what it means basically is you couldn't have, if you wanted to rent a piece of property and the landlord said, I only rent to older people, I don't rent to young people. Within the city of Annapolis, it's legal for them to say that. Legal. Or could it be the reverse? You know, I don't want any older people in my properties. So what I'm hearing from commissioners who have spoken out is we need to remedy that. Is that correct?
That is correct. It would seem to me that not including age would be inconsistent with a lot of other protective classes, especially within the EEOC.
Yeah.
Why would we not include age?
Yeah. Okay, we'll look into that. I will send an email to Teresa and say that the commission is most enthusiastic about doing that with the fair housing ordinance. That's the area that we have control over, direct control over. And that if she wants to look at other areas of the code, that she really needs to work with the Office of Law, because apparently it's covered in some cases and not covered in others. Okay, the next item deals with the status of protocols with the Annapolis Police regarding hate crimes and incidents in the city. Years and years ago, we, as a commission, came to agreement with the Annapolis Police that they would provide us with the reports of officers when there was a hate crime or a hate incident. A hate incident is one which involved a hate speech of some kind, but is protected by the First Amendment. Hate crime is a crime and can be prosecuted. What we wanted the information for, and which we, up to a point in time, we were regularly getting those reports, was it gave the commission the ability to reach out to individuals who were victimized by hate incidents, and in the case of hate crimes, the police took care of that. You know, the commission doesn't engage in police work. But if it was a hate incident in which somebody had racist or homophobic literature stuffed in their mailbox, things like that have happened in the city, then we could work with the individuals who were victimized and reach out to them. And I don't recall, I know the last time we had something like this happen, we never got a report from the police. It was in the Capitol. I remember Helen actually reached out to some of the communities that were involved, and they didn't want us to follow up on it. Is my memory correct on that, Helen? Helen, you're mute.
Yes, it was at Green Acres on Warren Drive.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. there was a statement that was issued by the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County. And we were asked to, were invited by Eugene Peterson to join that statement. I did survey the commission on that. There were no objections, so I went ahead and did that. But I don't recall the statements being picked up by the media in any fashion or way. And it's but I can remember a couple of cases in which we did send letters when there was some really vicious graffiti that was put on the Jewish synagogue on Hilltop Lane. We responded really quick to that, and we followed up. But again, the purpose was not to issue a statement for the public, but mainly to write a letter to the rabbi and express to her our dismay about what had happened, and give her the option if she wanted us to come and talk with the congregation about it. So I guess where I'm getting around to here is I'm not sure the police are abiding by this agreement that we have, and that agreement still, I've still got the written agreement. So what I would like to do is, and again, Tricia, I don't see that Claudius still. Oh yeah, no, I'm looking to see if Claudius was still on the call.
I am. I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there, Claudia? Thank you, Claudia. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Claudia. Claudia, how can we remedy this situation? I think that somewhere down the line, the police have just sort of not given us those reports anymore. And all they are the reports in which there's a hate crime or a hate incident. Is there some way you or Tricia could reach out to Chief Jackson about that? And I can provide you with the documents they agreed to. I've got them all.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you can provide me with the documents, I can certainly follow up with Tricia and asking the police chief to release those documents.
Yeah, I mean, all they have to do is just send it to us. And again,
Come on,
we're not interfering. All we're trying to do is reach out to people who have been victimized. Who, I mean, the police. I mean, the police can't do anything. I mean, that I remember back during Ellen Moyer's administration, and there was some really nasty, vicious literature that was put in the bottles and thrown on people's lawn. And we had a public hearing on the matter at City Hall. There were 300 people present. I remember getting the contact from Ellen. I mean, she called me up and she said, I'm going to be there. The city manager is going to be there. The police chief is going to be there, and you're going to be there. Not can you make it? You're going to be there. And sure enough, we had that hearing, and people were very, very upset that when the police said, we cannot prosecute someone for putting nasty literature in a bottle and leaving it on someone's doorstep. The courts will throw it out in 5 minutes. So at least we can reach out to people, and that was the whole intent about this. Linda, you and I had a conversation about this. I'm trying to remember what it was. But I mean, it got me thinking.
Yeah, I remember I asked you about was it a resolution that you had written over the summer about the church that was vandalized on Bestgate, and that they were in the resolution, it was categorized as a hate crime, even though at that point nobody really knew what was going on there. And it turned out that the person that was arrested and charged was an African-American homeless man. And so we still don't really know why he did what he did. So that's what I was questioning, was why are we doing this? Because it's not in Annapolis, and it's just, and then what is the reason to do a resolution, what does it really change, right? I like what you're talking about and actually reaching out to a community and trying to offer support and listening, because that does offer change, that is supportive of change of
Yeah.
some sort. Because my other question to you was, well, how come we haven't written a resolution about the triple murder that happened that is being charged as a hate crime here in Annapolis, right? So that was the conversation that we had.
Okay, good. Yeah, the resolution that was written by the county chair of the Human Relations Commission, Gene Peterson, and he invited me. He said, "Can I add the commission's name to this?" And nobody objected to it, so I just went ahead and told him to do it. But I can understand. I can understand your concern that we would, just issue a statement without waiting to see what the police did. If my memory is correct, the way the resolution was written by Gene was really calling on the police to rigorously enforce, investigate it, and calling on the state's attorney to prosecute. And that was I think the intent that he had there. I don't think he was as much interested in the press picking it up as a statement, but rather pressing the police and the state's attorney to act. And I think that's the reason that I sent it out to our commission, is I thought, well, that seems to be, important. But in any case, Claudia, I will send to you those protocol documents that we had with the police, and hopefully this can be restored.
It would be helpful if you also provided us with the date, the time frame of what documents from what specific time or date to present, or at 5 years or whatever the time period is.
In other words, when we actually adopted the framework, is that it? The protocols?
No, not necessarily adopting the framework. What I'm getting at is, if you're asking for documents of hate crimes over a specific period of time.
No, all we're doing is looking. We're not looking back into the past. The past is the past.
Okay.
What we're looking at is going forward, that the police restore the policy that they had with us and was in operation for years and years.
Okay.
And the incident that occurred on Bestgate Road just brought that to my attention again, and also the one that occurred in the area that Helen was talking about. I'm positive I didn't get anything.
So you're looking for general orders?
No. What it is, it's not that. It's just a police report. The report of the incident. That's all. We're not looking for general orders. We just want them. If an officer comes back and submits a report, and the report says that I am investigating this, or I investigated this as a hate crime or a hate incident, then those reports would come to us. We would be informed of it.
Okay.
If it's a hate crime, the commission will simply look at it, and we may reach out to the individual. But in terms of enforcement, we're not impeding on the police. We're not going to take over the role of the police. We're not investigating things. All we're going to do is reach out to victims of this. And, for most people, it's a terrible incident to come and, open your mailbox, and there is racist, vicious literature in the box. And some of the stuff was pretty bad. I've actually kept copies of it. I don't ask for it because I won't make a copy of them. But if you ever come over the house, or I can show them to you, and they're pretty nasty, really nasty.
So I guess my point is that whatever information you provide, if it has the more dates is fact specific, and sometimes can expedite the finding or location of the document. in whatever system it's formed, it currently is stored in.
I can tell you what the document is. The document's a police report.
Okay.
It's a police report, simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, but-
Every time they investigate something, the police write up a report.
Right,
That's
but
what
it
we're
has
gonna
to be a
see.
specific date when the report was written.
Yeah, but
Claudia,
I'm not going back in time, though. It would be something going forward.
Oh, okay.
In other words, in the past, we had received this information. Suddenly, we don't receive it anymore. It just probably got forgotten or whatever. So we'd like it restored. So we're not moving back. We're not going back and saying we want the stuff from year whatever. We're saying in the future, we would appreciate very much having it. Joshua, did you have something to say you'd like to say on this?
yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, Claudia, just in your terminology that you will understand, statement of probable cause is supposed to be given to the commission as a notice and indicator that there has been a hate crime that was committed in the city of Annapolis, so that the commission can be aware of the fact that this is actually happened.
Right, that's exactly it.
Okay.
That's exactly it, Joshua. Okay, and I'll send those documents to you, Claudia, and just report back to the commission in terms of what you hear from the police chief.
Definitely.
I mean, it may be required that we, have another conversation with him. Okay, the last item, next to last item on the agenda is the recruitment of additional commissioners. Occasionally, I put this on the agenda when members of the commission inquire about it, and I did get an inquiry about it. The commission has statutory 15 members. We have currently 11 commissioners. There are 4 vacancies. So I would just renew what I have said a number of occasions, is urge commissioners, if there are individuals you know in your network who are residents of the city of Annapolis and don't work for the city of Annapolis, who would be good commissioners, please send them my way, because I can expedite their appointments, hopefully, through the city. We pretty much have responsibility for doing that for all practical purposes. I mean, the city will process applications from people who express interest in serving on the commission, but don't expect that the mayor is going to go out and recruit people. They used to do it, but they don't right now. So in any case, I'm just bringing this as just for information purposes. Does anyone want to comment on this? Any thoughts about it? Okay.
I'm just frustrated. I've been trying to recruit for a while, as you know,
Keep it up.
someone from the Spanish speaking community.
Yeah.
And, so far I have not been successful. But
Just keep plugging away on it.
I will.
Okay, the final item we have, thank you, Lakeisha, for hanging in there, is a report from the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County. Do you have anything you'd like to report to us?
Yes, so we are currently preparing for another Unity Day, hoping to have a tree planting Unity Day in the October timeframe. We've already had one planning meeting. We'll have another one tomorrow. If anyone that's on the commission would like to attend to represent Annapolis, please, by all means, Mike, I guess you can send an email to Eugene, Commissioner Eugene, and he can forward the Zoom invite.
Okay.
But yes, that's one of the main things we're currently working right now. The reparations has also been another subject we've been discussing. As Commissioner Hurley has shared, the statement that Chairman Peterson had created and pushed forward to the county executive. So to see where we can go from that. But, you know, it's at the point of, we don't want to just do another statement, but once again, start working into how do we formulate some solutions, some resolutions. So we're continuing to work that effort, and, you know, just day-to-day operations of fair housing, responding to incidents or accidents that's been reported, and just continue thriving. One of the what good news sharing is that the Anne Arundel Human Relations Commission has received a budget for the year, and we are in hopes of using that to help us with outreach, spreading information and education. And so, you know, I'll be very, I think it's still kind of up in the air of how that's going to be executed, but at least we do now have a budget. So some good news sharing on that behalf. And that's all I have.
Congratulations on all those great activities.
Thank you.
That concludes the items that I have on the agenda. Are there any other matters that commissioners would like to bring before the commission this evening? Okay, our next meeting, I believe, is October 1st. Am I right on that? That's I think the first Monday of the month. And I know we're going to be hearing from representatives from Center of Help, from the Latino community, and I'd like to thank Rosemary for organizing this.
October 1st is a Sunday, I think.
It's
Okay,
October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Yeah,
It's October
great.
2nd. Okay. All right. And you'll all receive the usual agendas and minutes and that kind of stuff for that. Okay. If there is nothing else on the agenda this evening, we can adjourn our meeting. I'd like to once again thank Mark Hildebrand for providing the technical assistance via Zoom. Every time he does it, everything works perfectly. So thank you there, Mark. We know you're in the background somewhere. Okay.
Okay, there it is.
Yep. Well, I just wish everybody a good rest of the evening.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And anyone who's had family members that have that was involved in 9/11 and a tragedy, prayers go out to you and the family during this time.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for.
Yes,
thank you.
Lakeisha,